Hello, everyone. I'm Mr. Five. Today, I'll tell you a story about a late autumn afternoon in Cook County, Illinois, a place known for its cultural diversity, yet also burdened with lingering questions about justice and racial bias. It was October 22nd, 2023, and golden leaves drifted gently to the ground, painting the narrow streets in warm hues, creating a peaceful yet contemplative atmosphere. Evelyn Johnson, a strong and determined black woman, was driving home after a long day at work. Her car moved slowly through each intersection, the crisp autumn air seeping into her thoughts like a quiet whisper of the season. But that peace was quickly shattered when the flashing blue and red lights of a patrol car suddenly illuminated the rearview mirror. Her heart sank for a moment. This wasn't the first time she had felt this sense of unease, but tonight, something was different. Something inside her urged her to be stronger, calmer. She eased her foot off the gas, pulling over to the side of the road. Taking a deep breath, she steadied herself. Glancing into the rearview mirror, she saw the officer stepping out of the patrol car, his posture exuding authority, but also something else, something unspoken. At that moment, Evelyn knew she wasn't just facing a police officer. She was confronting an entire system that had long been shaped by silent biases. Evelyn Johnson sat silently in her car, trying to keep her breathing steady to push away the uneasy feeling rising inside her. She was no stranger to pressure, to the scrutinizing looks she often received when facing those in uniform, but she had never allowed it to shake her composure. At 40 years old, Evelyn carried not only the refined beauty and grace of a woman who had seen and experienced much, but also the commanding presence of someone who knew her worth. Strong, sharp, and unwavering. Evelyn was the head of the Internal Affairs Division at the Cook County Police Department in Illinois. Her job was to oversee the conduct and ethics of law enforcement officers, ensuring that they upheld integrity and fairness at all times. Because of this, she understood better than most the power behind the badge she carried. Yet, in this moment, she chose to remain silent, carefully observing the man approaching her vehicle. George Thompson stepped out of his patrol car with an air of confidence, even bordering on arrogance. Around 35 years old, tall and broad-shouldered, with short-cropped hair and a stern expression, George was the kind of officer who believed that power came from his badge and the gun at his hip. He walked toward Evelyn's car at a slow, deliberate pace, his sharp eyes scanning her as if searching for a reason to confirm the bias already ingrained in his mind. "License and registration," George said, his tone cold and impersonal, offering no greeting or explanation for the stop. Evelyn calmly opened her glove compartment, retrieving her documents before handing them over. She carefully studied his face, noting every subtle shift in his expression, sensing the quiet but growing suspicion in his eyes. Flipping through the documents quickly, George asked, his tone edged with skepticism, "How long have you lived here? Is the address on your license correct?" Evelyn remained composed, her voice steady as she replied, "I've lived here for many years." "The address is accurate, as stated on my documents." But George barely seemed interested in her response. He continued his questioning. "You seem to be in a hurry. Where are you headed?" At that moment, Evelyn knew this was no longer just a routine traffic stop. The questions were becoming increasingly personal, unreasonable, and laced with doubt. She lifted her head and met George's gaze directly, her tone measured but firm. I'm simply on my way home from work, officer. George's brow furrowed slightly at her unwavering confidence. He clearly didn't like being challenged, especially by a black woman who remained so composed, so unshaken. Evelyn could sense the tension building, but she refused to let it show. Instead, she steadied herself even more, knowing that this was not just an exchange between two strangers on the side of the road. This was a confrontation between justice and long-standing prejudice, an unspoken battle that had played out countless times before. And tonight, Evelyn was ready. The tension between them was razor-sharp, every word and every glance carrying an almost unbearable weight. George Thompson could feel his authority slipping away in front of this woman, the same woman he had initially dismissed as just another civilian, someone easily intimidated. He frowned, trying to regain control, his voice laced with frustration. "Ms. Johnson, do you think you know everything about police authority? Are you trying to challenge me?" Evelyn didn't respond immediately. She held his gaze for a moment, then slowly moved her hand toward the inside of her coat, her movements deliberate and measured. Her voice was calm and steady as she spoke. "I'm going to take something out of my pocket. I suggest you remain calm, Officer Thompson." George's eyes immediately locked onto her hands, his heartbeat quickening, his fingers instinctively shifting toward his holster. But when Evelyn pulled out a sleek leather wallet and slowly opened it in front of him, George froze, a cold sensation spreading through his body. The golden badge glistened under the fading evening light, with the words Internal Affairs Division, Cook County Police Department, clearly engraved. Evelyn's voice was smooth, yet carried a razor-sharp edge as she introduced herself. "I'm Evelyn Johnson, Chief of Internal Affairs for the Cook County Police Department. My job is to oversee officer conduct and ensure that every officer upholds their sworn duty to justice and accountability." Her words, though spoken softly, sliced through the air like a blade, cutting straight into George's perception of control. He stood motionless, his lips slightly parted as if trying to find words, but none came. His confidence evaporated, replaced by disbelief and growing panic. Evelyn took a measured step closer, narrowing the space between them, her tone still composed, but now carrying an undeniable weight. "Officer Thompson, the issue here isn't just that you question me without cause. The real issue is why you felt the need to suspect me in the first place. That is the question that truly matters." George instinctively took a small step back as if trying to create distance, his posture stiff, his eyes darting downward in avoidance. The shame and discomfort were evident in every line of his face. In that moment, he realized just how fragile the power he had taken for granted truly was when faced with truth and integrity. Evelyn didn't let up. Her voice remained steady, but she emphasized each word with purpose. "You may believe that the badge on your chest grants you the right to treat people however you choose. But the truth is, that badge carries only one meaning: responsibility and fairness. And soon you'll have to explain your actions today to my department, Officer Thompson." George remained speechless, his eyes clouded with worry. Evelyn stood tall, her presence radiating an unshakable confidence. She knew this moment wasn't just a personal victory. It was the beginning of something much bigger, a step toward meaningful change in the Cook County police system, a confrontation long overdue. In the days that followed, Evelyn Johnson refused to let the incident with Officer George Thompson fade into obscurity. Back at her office in the Internal Affairs Division, she carefully reviewed every file, her expression calm yet resolute. She understood that what she was dealing with was not just a personal encounter, but a deeply ingrained system that had long enabled such misconduct. Jennifer Brown, Evelyn's assistant, entered the room quietly, a stack of files in her hands. Sensing Evelyn's deep contemplation, Jennifer hesitated for a moment before speaking. "Evelyn, Officer Thompson's file is ready. He's had multiple complaints against him in the past, but none have ever been taken seriously." Evelyn took the file from Jennifer, her eyes scanning the pages quickly, her resolve growing stronger. She paused for a moment before saying, "Jennifer, schedule an urgent meeting with Police Chief William Davis. This isn't just about Thompson. We need real reform." That afternoon, Evelyn sat across from Chief Davis in a quiet conference room. William Davis, a seasoned leader in his 50s, was accustomed to handling matters discreetly and cautiously. He listened intently as Evelyn detailed the case, her voice unwavering. When she finished, he exhaled slowly, nodding as if weighing every word. "Evelyn, I understand this problem exists, but a full-scale reform will cause a lot of disruption," Davis said, his tone contemplative, laced with hesitation. Evelyn met his gaze directly, her voice steady, yet firm. "It's precisely the fear of disruption that has allowed this issue to persist for so long. We need to change from within, starting with better training, stricter oversight, and a transparent system for handling misconduct. If we don't act now, we will continue to lose the trust of the community." Davis sat in silence for a long moment, his hands resting on the table as he carefully considered her words. Finally, he looked up at Evelyn with an expression of rare sincerity. "You're right. We can't stay silent any longer. Let's begin this reform. You have my full support." The following weeks were filled with urgency and determination. Evelyn led meetings, facilitated discussions on new policies, and pushed for improvements ranging from enhanced training procedures to a more transparent accountability system. The incident involving George Thompson became a clear example of the flaws in the system, fueling the momentum for necessary change. After a thorough investigation, Thompson was suspended and required to undergo retraining in professional ethics. But to Evelyn, this was not the ultimate victory. For her, the real success was seeing the system itself begin to move toward fairness, transparency, and the accountability she had always believed in. For Evelyn, this was just the beginning, but it was also the most crucial step in rebuilding trust between law enforcement and the Cook County community. A few months later, Evelyn Johnson stood before a packed auditorium filled with officers and residents of Cook County, her gaze steady and full of conviction. Her voice rang out clearly, carrying a deep sense of inspiration. "The story of Officer Thompson is not just about an individual case of misconduct. It is a crucial lesson that bias often lurks beneath the surface and can erode the trust of the community. The power we hold comes with great responsibility, and every decision we make has far-reaching consequences." She paused briefly, letting her words settle before continuing. "The most valuable lesson we can take from this situation is that courage, awareness, and integrity have the power to change the system. Never stay silent in the face of injustice, because silence is complicity." Evelyn closed her speech with a heartfelt piece of advice. I encourage each of us to reflect on our own conscience, to ask ourselves whether we are truly being fair, transparent, and respectful in all that we do. Always remember, every small action we take today contributes to either building or breaking the trust of society tomorrow. Real change begins with each of us